Today, we're going to be working with F again, but as a sharp, or as G as a flat. And I've always felt more comfortable with a flat than I do with a sharp. And I don't know if you would feel that way or not, but we're going to do it with a flat. And so we'll go through the key of G flat today and talk about that. The concern I have a little bit is that I want you, and the whole idea of this, working with the chords and the keys, in other words, with all the chords that are in each key, is so that you get familiar enough so it becomes not a thought. It becomes a sound that you're listening to. In other words, so that you get into playing. And just do it without thinking about what chords you're going to go into. The reason I'm saying that is that I write down some chords, okay, but when I get through playing whatever I played, it's not necessarily exactly what I wrote down. And it's because if I just relax and let the music follow its path through the process of going through my arms and from somewhere within me onto the keys, that I make no mistakes, and it sounds not too bad. So, and then after I do that, I go to the computer, make sure the recording sounds good, and if I feel that it's a good one to save, then I simply go to a program that I have, which is called Code Printout. And I run that recording through that little process, and it tells me all the chords that are in the song and allows me to have a way to also write the words in with it. And then after that, I can go ahead and simply do the noting as I go through it. It makes it real simple that way rather than an interruption, because when I'm doing a song, it's developed from somewhere within me. And so I'm not sitting here practicing and practicing and practicing trying to write a song. I don't have to. I just throw up a few chords and I play something. And whatever comes out of me is usually something I'm going to keep. But if I want to play that song again, I have to have it so I can read it and play it the way I played it before, because I'll never remember how I played it any other way. So this is the way it is with me. I don't know if that's with anybody else. I've never talked to artists in that way because I was always embarrassed about it. So this is the first time that's leaked out of the closet. Anyway, so that's why I'm doing it this way, because a few of you have already started picking that up. And what I'm getting at is we started this, I think, on lesson 15. I put up the chord progression chart to help you, but I wanted you to do all this by memory. So, in other words, going up through the steps. And I explained it in 15 and 16. And if you don't have that fluently embedded in your brain, you need to go back and refresh yourself. And it's good to go back and refresh yourself anyway and keep playing those chords through the progressions as we have. Because there are certain sounds that are generated through each one of the keys that you don't have from the other key. And there are some things like country music, jazz, soul, R&B, and acoustic sounding songs, and that type of thing. Going back in the olden days, we had the waltzes, we had the two-step, we had all that, and of course there was different types of settings and different types of sound. So it's no different today, except that they're wording it differently. So in order to have this stuff embedded within you so that you sit down and you start to play, and you will automatically come up with those things. You'll come up with a sound automatically without thinking about it that you want to have in there. In other words, if you're playing an E in the E key of E, now the second part of that E was a full step, which would be F sharp, okay? But the second step, as you know, is a minor. So it would have been this way. So we're coming up. And put in all kinds of things you want to, discord, not discord, whatever. But there's real pretty stuff here. And with C chord, F chord, all that. In other words, whatever key, and first you have to think of the key and then you start on that. If you're going to put things in that are different, like following the thirds, remember that? Or following the fifths, then you need to practice with that too while you're working on it. Just start with a C chord, and the fifth, of course, is a G, so the next one's going to be a G. And the next one after that is a D. Okay, if you're in the key of C, then you got to do what? It's a diminished, because that's the second. 1, 2. Okay, now we got an A. Now, which one's that? That's a 6, isn't it? Okay, the sixth step is a minor. Okay, here's an E again. That's a minor. The fifth is a minor. If this is a B. Okay, now the B is what on that? It's a diminished. See? So you have to play it the way they were designed in that chord. If not, you're going to have this situation. Which is you're going through the, actually into another chord sequence, which is okay. Because when you get through with all that, like here's an E again, okay? Now we got a B. Now we got an F sharp. Okay, is that familiar? That is, because there it is. That's the second of that chord. And now we can go back to the regular key of C, and this time include the minors. Here's your first, your second is a minor, your third is a minor, and so on. Your fourth is a half a step up. 6 is a minor, and the B is a diminished. And then we go to there again. Okay. But you have to have all that in your head so that when you sit down and play, it's not a thinking process. It's not a thinking process at all. It just happens. And that's where you need to get to. So if you're not getting there easily, you need to just simply practice more. And practicing should be fun, because the more you play those chords and sequences, and hunting for a chord progression that you like, even if it's just on the, like in the, we were in the F chord a little while ago, so just, even if it's just simple. In other words, we're going to the, we're playing the first, we're playing the, that would be, what, that's a fourth, and then we play, or any type of those. In other words, just putting the progressions together. And if you can't remember, write them down, or like I told you last week, just have the camera rolling every time you do that, and then you'll have it. Just play it back and you can see the chords you're playing. Okay, and result 2 at the end of this, after we get through with the keys, I'm going to get into showing you reading and sight reading so that you can be reading a song that's written and be playing it behind where you're reading. In other words, you'll be sight reading like you regularly read, but you'll be reading the keys. And you already know everything. You already know the chords. You know kind of where you're going, and if you don't, you just do it automatically. And all you got to do is worry about reading that 1 or 2 notes up there. See? You already know, for instance, you have an F chord. You already know you've got 3 notes up there. So you read ahead and you know where it's going. Okay? You already know where it's going and reading the music. So those are the reasons we're doing this stuff. So now I'm going to show you, if you don't have this, or if I didn't show you the full sheet. I don't think I showed you the full sheet. I think I only showed you down to here to start off with. Okay, I'm going to show you the full sheet now. Now we're working with F sharp and G flat. So I'm going to put that up there so you can see it. And as before, all you have to do is stop your, excuse me, when you're watching this lesson, just stop it and take a picture of it with your cell phone. And you've got it that way, or however you want to remember it. Okay, now let's go to the key of G flat. And the reason I like the flats is because here's a key, here's a chord of G. Well, you're going to a G flat. It's just a half step down, everything is. Okay, so the first part of that progression is G flat, excuse me. Okay, the second part, one step up, is a flat. Second step, minor, is a minor. And then we go to a B flat for the third, minor. And then we go to a C flat. Okay. Now this is the third and the fourth, so it's a half a step. So if we go to a C flat, do you have any idea what that is? Okay, here's a C, here's the chord. So we're going to go down a half a step. It's just the key, the chord of B. Okay. And then you're going to have a C sharp or a D flat. So you've got C flat, then you've got D flat, then you've got E flat minor, because that's the sixth one. And then you have F D minor, F diminished, I mean. Okay, so to do that again, we have G flat, A flat minor, B flat minor, C flat, which is actually just a straight B, because it's one half step down from C, and then we call it a C flat. In other words, here you learn something. Now we can flat a chord. Okay, and then we have a D flat, and we have an E minor, and then we have an F diminished. Okay, and I'm going to end that there because I want you to go back and find out where you might be rusty in your keys and working with your keys. And wherever you're rusty, stop and work on that. And if you're not rusty, and you go right through all of them, then come up to this G flat and start working with that. And then, of course, from there, start working on all the variations. Work on the diminished part of it. Okay, the augmented, the minor, the sixth, major seventh, regular seventh. See, they're not on the black keys anymore, they're on the white. Okay, so you're not going here anymore because that's not sounding right. So you've got to go up here. Okay, you can play all those up and down. Okay, so go through all your variations. Now to find your ninth, where's your ninth? It's going to be right here. Okay? Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Your ninth is going to be right here. There we go. There's the ninth. Sorry. How about that? So, but when you play the ninth, it's always good to add the seventh to it. Just like when we were back with the chord of C. Has the same type of ring to it, except this one is a little bit different. See? A little bit different. But that's because it's lower, remember? I told you about the second and the fifth of the, the second and the fourth. We could also play those. Well, the second, which is actually here, a second, and then we have a ninth up here. So let's play it up here and you hear the difference. And that's sexy, huh? Okay. That's a neat way to end a progression. Switched over to C. Anyway, to run down. But see, when you come to an ending from a song, you sometimes will do what I just did automatically, because I started doing that automatically and I said, uh-oh, but I just shut my brain up and let it finish. See? That's why I have, sometimes I'm making mistakes and stuff, because I'm thinking about something and then my hands just take over and do something. And so it's different than what I was trying to say. Anyway, but what I want you to do now is just simply practice this whole key of G flat. Okay. 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 And then we're back to the half step up to G flat again. Okay. And that's what we got for this week, and then we'll go into a little more of stuff next week. And what I'm also doing is teaching you stuff to add to all this while you're learning it, so that when we finally finish the chords, you've got everything you need to just take off. So you've already learned it. And the only thing after that will be writing and doing different procedures of creation. So I'll hang up this mic. I'll say good afternoon to you, and you'll see this shortly on Friday, and we'll go from there. And next week I'll say hello, and we'll go on it again. Anyway, don't forget to use the captions that are in the upper right-hand corner.